to the citizens in the country? Is it given by me to y'all? Is it given by your parents? Is it given by your school, any other XYZ authority, or is it given by the government? All right. So key highlights of the judgment: pedestrian rights have priority in the sense that these footpaths that have been created, they will not be used for, by bicycles, by motor vehicles, or for any other transportation. All right. Yes, absolutely correct answers, all of you. The state gives these fundamental rights, and by state, we simply mean all government authorities. So this definition of state is given in which fundamental right? My next question. All right. So pedestrians have the rights, will be given priorities over. Yes, absolutely correct. You all are giving absolutely correct answers. It is Article 12. Article 12 gives the definition of state. And in this definition, they basically include the central government, all its bodies, the state governments, all its bodies, local governments, and any other public sector undertaking. Okay. Then duty of the authorities, naturally, it is a part of fundamental right which has to be extended by the state itself. So the state authorities are going to ensure that this fundamental right is extended to everybody. All right. Need for dedicated law and regulation. The Supreme Court has sent this new declared fundamental right to the respective ministries and offices, which are going to bring out this dedicated law structure, which is going to extend this right to people, right to remedies, that citizens whose right to safe footpaths is violated can seek constitutional legal remedies. Now, which article provides you this right to seek remedies from the Supreme Court? Yes, you don't even let me finish my question. Very good. It is Article 32. Article 32 enables you or gives you the basic fundamental right that you can move the Supreme Court directly to get your fundamental rights reinstated. Okay. So naturally for this also, you can move the Supreme Court directly. Okay. Then Motor Vehicles Act 1988 has also been brought into here, saying that you can't take away pedestrians' right to walk. All right. Okay. Now, this particular judgment is not by the Supreme Court, it is by the Delhi High Court. However, because it has been brought into news, that is why it becomes important. All right. So just keep in mind that the Delhi High Court has recognized the right to be forgotten as an integral part of right to privacy under Article 21. All right. Now, what does right to be forgotten actually entail? It simply implies that if you have any information, or if there is any information pertaining to your personal life or something that maybe you've done previously, etc., which is circulated on internet through, in the sense that you can search for it through Google platforms, or you can search for it through Indian Qanun. All right. So this indexing, that is availability of such information against you, can be removed such that no fingers are basically pointed against the person pertaining to whose information is available on Google search or Indian Qanun. It only talks about de-indexing, in the sense it shouldn't be readily available on online platforms. It does not talk about permanently deleting it. Okay. So do remember this. All right. So right to be forgotten has been recognized as part of right to privacy, Article 21. Right to privacy was brought in through which case of the Supreme Court? Right to privacy was through which case? Yes, it is Puttaswamy. KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India. Which year? Just remember not the case's name, but then you need to remember. Somebody's asked me that question. You need to remember that it is what is the right. All right. So right to be forgotten is part of Article 21. Okay. And it has been again brought in through or recognized as a part of right to privacy under Article 21. The right to privacy was recognized to be a part of Article 21 through the KS Puttaswamy case of 2017. Okay. All right. So right to be forgotten is the right of an individual to request that that a certain information about them particularly old, irrelevant or harmful information be removed or hidden from search engine results so that it does not continue to haunt them indefinitely. All right, children, you all can give in your questions there. I'll come to the screen and then I'll answer your questions. Okay, don't feel that I'm not answering your doubts. Then it does not mean erasing the past. It simply means ensuring that a casual internet search does not automatically surface damaging information about the person. Okay. In case the information in any manner damages any person's image publicly, it will be de-indexed. Now, de-indexed meaning that it will just be removed from current searches. It will not be deleted. All right. And searches pertaining only to the Indian Qanun and Google. Okay. Then European rules. In Europe in 2014, the European Court of Justice had given a ruling in Google Spain versus AEPD case, where after which or following which they had brought in EU's General Data Protection Regulation, again putting forth the right to privacy. Then Indian context, we had the 2017 case Puttaswamy judgment that brought in the right to privacy. Then further, a legislative reform was also made for it, in the sense that a statutory provision was also included. This statutory provision was brought into the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. They keep on updating its rules, and this year also it was updated. All right. Kartavya, we can speak after the class regarding this, or we can have one-on-one session regarding this. All right. If you're an online student, then you can ask Lubna ma'am to have a session with me, or if you're offline, then we can connect. If you are in any center that I visit, then we can connect personally there. Okay. All right. Then the court's key findings, they simply said entirement of acquitted. It simply held that persons who have been acquitted, discharged, or whose proceedings have been quashed are fully entitled to have the final legal determination reflected in their digital identity. In the sense that if they have done away with their respect, if their cases have been done away with, and they no longer are acquitted, or their cases are no longer going on, then their information can be erased. All right. Commercial search engines are going to de-index the name, and it is not going to be shown. It will not show in the first search. All right. De-indexing does not mean that it will be deleted. All right. Okay. Now the next is, again, it is mostly a one-liner that is important, but then you have to keep in mind. All right. Our present Prime Minister has become India's longest serving democratically elected Prime Minister. All right. Now there's a difference between democratically elected Prime Minister and the longest serving Prime Minister. Okay. In the sense that Jawaharlal Nehru still holds the position of the longest serving Prime Minister of India. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru, before the general elections took place and effectively he was elected as the Prime Minister of India, he was appointed as the Prime Minister just after we gained independence in 1947. All right. So, inclusive of his term when he was not an elected head of the country, that is also included in making Jawaharlal Nehru as the longest serving Prime Minister of the country. Prime Minister Modi has made history by being the longest serving democratically elected Prime Minister, in the sense that this is his third term, and for all the three times he has been a democratically elected person. Okay. So his total term has been 4,399 days in office. Also, please let me know, what do you mean by a democracy and a republic? And what is the basic difference between a democracy and a republic? Okay. Surpassing the former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's record of 4,398 consecutive days after he became an elected head. All right. Okay. So Nehru's total time is 6,131 days, which is inclusive from 15th of August 1947 till 1964. Other than that, in terms of the chief ministers, we have Pawan Kumar Chamling, who was the chief minister of Sikkim. He holds otherwise the record of serving as the longest serving chief minister of any state. All right. Okay. Then we have set a new record in terms of launching our UPIs in different countries. Now, with the inclusion of Cambodia and Greece, India has launched and effectively this UPI is being used in 10 countries in total. Okay. So, Cambodia towards the beginning of June had become the 9th country, and Greece towards the end of June, beginning of July, has become the 10th country to have accepted and rolled out UPI. So what is UPI? Full forms, very important for your exam. Your exam has a tendency of asking questions on full forms. I will again reiterate that last year they asked you a question on MAGA in the CLAT exam and Mahasagar full form in the ALET exam. So anything that comes up in the news which is an abbreviation has a full form. Full forms are important. So UPI, known as Unified Payments System. All right. Now, this UPI, Unified Payment System, was launched in 2016. This year, we are celebrating 10 years of UPI. 10 years of UPI plus, as of now, we have 10 countries who have rolled out UPI effectively in their countries. Other than that, there is one person that whose name is important, and it is Nandan Nilekani. Okay. Nandan Nilekani, why? Because he basically headed a committee that was to deepen digital payment systems in India. Nandan Nilekani Committee is the name of the committee itself, named after the chairman. This committee was established in 2019 to deepen digital payment systems in the country. UPI has been launched by another authority known as NPCI, that is National Payments Corporation of India. So get the total, we have 10 countries. You can see the name of the 10 countries. Bhutan was the first one to adopt it in 2021. And in 2021, we also got the second one, which was UAE. So UAE and Bhutan together had taken it up in 2021, but Bhutan was the first one. So remember that Bhutan was your first country recently, and memorandums of understandings for UPIs have been signed with around 23 nations. However, it has been effectively rolled out in right now as of 10 countries only. Okay, so do remember that. Other than that, we have also signed a memorandum of understandings for rolling off our DigiLocker systems as well. All right, so it has been, I think, with 4 countries: Kenya and Laos, and one is Cuba and UAE. Okay, so do remember that also. NPCI has been established in 2008, and it basically supervises the rolling out of anything pertaining to digital payments and other payment systems in the country. Okay. Has developed major payment systems including UPI, RuPay. You get RuPay cards, in the sense ATM cards. IMPS, online transfer of money. FASTag is the one that you use while you are traveling, crossing tolls. You can't pay manually there. All right. And national automated clearing houses. Okay. And also do remember Dilip Asbe, he is the MD and CEO of NPCI and Bhim UPI. Okay. All right. So the next is that in the month of June, we had the BRICS Agriculture Ministers meeting. Now, in one of the sessions, I did tell you all that whichever country is hosting the summit for that year, then that country tends to host multiple meetings in that very year, simply because the country wishes to be in the limelight, to portray itself as a country which can host successful summits, such that more hosting opportunities are given to this country. If more hosting opportunities are given, better employment opportunities, foreign direct investments, better trade relations, etc., are also established. So in June, we basically had the agriculture ministers meet, but before that, we had multiple other meetings as well. Okay. So beginning from January itself, a basic timeline that India officially took on as the chair of the 18th BRICS Summit from Brazil, which hosted the 17th BRICS Summit. And taking over as the chair, India also undertook the unveiling of the BRICS logo, the theme, and the website in January itself. Okay. Now, because it is the BJP government, one. Second, it is the national flower of India. So mostly, whichever summit that India hosts, India tends to make this particular flower only as its logo. So keep it in your mind this way only, and relate it to, like, previously we hosted the G20 summit. Then also we had lotus as its symbol. So for BRICS also we have lotus as the symbol. And for another summit that we are hosting this year, in all probability, IBCA, International Big Cat Alliance, that also has lotus as its symbol. That is also a 5-petal lotus. This is also a 5-petal lotus. All right. However, these 5 petals, as per the BRICS grouping, it is to represent the original 5 or the initial 5 members of the BRICS countries, which are abbreviated as BRICS. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And these petals are all of different colors: orange, yellow, red, green, and blue, depicting the vibrant colors of these BRICS economies. And naturally, because India is hosting it, so the center of petal is seen to depict a namaste gesture. Okay. All right. Then India hosted in February the first BRICS Sherpa and Su Sherpa meeting. Also, do keep in mind the Sherpa for the BRICS summit this year, and it is Sudhakar Dalela. Okay. Sudhakar Dalela is the Sherpa for the BRICS summit for India. All right. Okay. Other than that, in this particular summit, like every other summit, we will be focusing on health, agriculture, labor, disaster risk reduction, etc. Then in May, we hosted the BRICS foreign ministers meeting. And ironically, the Iranian foreign minister did participate in the meeting. That was one major problem this year, that we felt that maybe Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran would not be willing to participate in the summit this year because they are at war. But nonetheless, they all made it to the summit. And here again, they did talk about a peaceful resolution of dispute in the West Asian region between Gaza and Israel, that Palestine and Israel, reinforcing the two-state solution, and also the other conflicts that are happening there. All right. Then the BRICS Justice Ministers meeting again took place in May, talking about alternative dispute resolution. That is a better mechanism to resolve dispute, in the sense through mediation and arbitration, rather than taking it to a formal court sitting. Okay. Then agriculture ministers meet was the latest one that took place in June. So for the agriculture ministers meet, the 4 key priorities: farmers, food security, climate, and technology, held in Madhya Pradesh, Indore in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Key highlights: keep in mind that they established a BRICS grain exchange to improve market transparency, trade cooperation, food security, emphasize climate resilient and sustainable agriculture, digital technologies, innovation, and research collaboration. So whatever is highlighted, that is mostly that you have to keep in mind. Them asking questions on these provisions is less. Okay, but then just keep it in mind. All right. Other than that, they've also talked about establishing these 4 new institutions. Okay. So centers of excellence on agroecology and regenerative agriculture, BRICS network on digital agriculture. Now remember, everything is being digitized of late. We are focusing on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, digitization, technology related improvements and innovations would be one thing that would be decided upon in mostly all of the summits. Okay. So similarly here also. Then BRICS Agri-N, that is Agro Input Genetic Resources and Information Network, has been launched here only to better coordinate and facilitate greater cooperation in terms of agriculture, trade, innovation, and technology, at least amongst the BRICS members. All right. And then Global Forum on Farmers' Rights in Seed Systems. All right. This has also been taken here. We don't need to get into the details, but mostly what they've talked about and whatever they are launching, that you need to keep in mind. Okay. You want to give in this?
Just one bit here for those of you who are new to Class Possible. A little bit of static information about BRICS. The term was coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill. They had the first meeting, I mean, it's not the BRICS meeting, the first unofficial meeting in a way, was in the year 2006. The first edition of BRICS
Foreign
meeting,
affairs meeting.
right? And in this one, the foreign affairs ministers met, and the first head of the state meeting took place in 2009, and then it was called as BRIC: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. In 2010, they invited South Africa, and which finally joined in 2011. All right, and um, the summit, uh, the 15th BRICS summit, which took place in South Africa in the year 2023. They invited 6 countries to join. One was Argentina, right, which rejected. It chose not to join, but
So
other
it is only
5
working.
is not.
हाँ,
Yes. आवाज नहीं आ रही?
हाँ, थोड़ा
कुछ
सा
भी नहीं आ रहा है
crack
आज।
हो रही है, they're saying that it is open.
So should I do it again?
Hmm.
Huh? Sure.
मतलब, I think they catch it only from my mic to whatever they could listen. So that's it.
Just ask if I do. Should I do it again?
You were able to hear it, catch it? ठीक है, sir, it is okay. हाँ.
Yeah, okay. So Argentina, which rejected because then they had, now also they have the same prime minister there, Javier Milei, right? So he rejected it, and the countries that joined were Egypt, Ethiopia, right, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and Iran, right? So these were the countries that joined. So 5 new members, right? So now BRICS, huh?
Indonesia.
And yeah. So 5 new members joined. So you have BRIC becoming BRICS. So 5 countries, and then you have, after 2023 15 BRICS meeting, it became 10. And last year, the meeting that took place in Brazil, the 17th edition, Indonesia was added. Okay, 17th edition, Indonesia was added. So now if the question is how many members are there in BRICS, the answer to this will be 11, right? The answer to this will be 11. So BRICS, last year's meeting in Brazil, 18th edition in India, and now the next edition of BRICS is going to be in China, right? Also,
So could you just repeat the name of the countries who joined in 2023, the 5 countries?
The countries that joined in 2023 were primarily North African and Middle East countries: Ethiopia, right, Egypt, UAE, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Is that clear?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so these 5 countries joined, and last year, the 17th edition, Indonesia joined. The next BRICS meeting, that is the 19th edition of BRICS, will be in China. Okay. Now, one of the most significant meetings of BRICS was in the year 2014. This was in Brazil, called Fortaleza or Fortzilla, whatever you call it. Fortaleza, right? So this particular meeting was significant because 2 important organizations were born out of this. What were the organizations? One was the New Development Bank. The decision was taken at the Fortaleza meeting in Brazil. So one was a BRICS bank, which is now called as a New Development Bank, right? And this is based at Shanghai, right? And this is headed by the ex-president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff. The next important, so this is in tune with, or like the World Bank. The funds here in the New Development Bank is basically for development activities. All right. And recently this was in news because besides the BRICS Bank, the BRICS countries, the 5 BRICS countries, you also have non-BRICS nations participating in it. The only thing is that the BRICS country have more than 55% voting rights. So countries like Bangladesh have joined, Algeria has joined, Colombia has joined, And the latest country to join is Uzbekistan. So what was in news, that a new country has joined the New Development Bank, that is Uzbekistan. So New Development Bank, the setup year 2015, which conference led to it? The Fortaleza conference in Brazil, and Dilma Rousseff heads it. All right, and Rajiv Ranjan from India was appointed last year as the vice president or the chief risk officer there. Anyway, so this one. The other one is a contingency reserve arrangement, which is, like a parallel body or akin to the International Monetary Fund. Here, the money is for the development, is for the balance of payment crisis. The contingency reserve arrangement. The headquarters of this is in Fortaleza in Brazil, and the funds here is $100 billion, right? And India has put in some $18 billion. Russia has put in $18 billion. Brazil has put in $18 billion. South Africa has put 5, and the rest is China, which comes to about $41 billion. So India can seek double of whatever it has put as reserve, which is $36 billion in case of a crisis, right? Now, in IMF, there is a quota system in which USA has got more than 17% quota, right? So this, in a way, now it is slightly less than 17%, but US has about 17%, and generally the Western countries that dominate the IMF in terms of the quota. So quota system defines how much money can a country get through their quota in IMF, right? So that is the reason the BRICS, they decided to have a contingency reserve arrangement in case of a balance of payment crisis. All right. Okay.
Now for this one, again, it is mostly a one-liner only, a more ALET specific question. But because the government has now increased or revised the base year, so that is why it becomes important. All right. So do remember that for wholesale price index, the base year has been changed from 2011-12 to 2022-23. Now the reason for changing these base years is only that we get a more realistic index, that we get a more recent index or recent improvement basis as compared to 2011-2012. So if you remember, for GDP also, this year we had improved or changed the base year. We had revised the base year for GDP calculation. That is why, if I remember, that in the beginning of the year, India was the 4th largest economy of the world. Now India has slipped to the 6th largest economy of the world. One of the reasons has been that our base year for calculating this increase in GDP has been changed to a more recent base year, which is mostly after the COVID period. So after COVID, the economy was hit majorly during COVID. So naturally, we are still recuperating from all the shocks that we got during the COVID period. That is why this slip in the GDP, as well as the slip in the global status of India as per the largest economy change. Similarly, we have revised it for this also. The only reasons for these revisions is that it gives you a more realistic picture. Okay, so you need to remember what is the previous base year, what is the new base year. Okay, and other than that, in the wholesale price index is basically the index which gives you a measure of inflation at the wholesale level. Wholesale level in the sense when it is at its initial stage before it is sent off to the market for further sale. All right. So generally, you must have heard when you're going out for shopping or something that we bought it on a wholesale rate, due to which it was cheaper as compared to when you go and buy it in the market. So wholesale is before it is gone to the market, when it is at the distribution stage. Okay. So WPI measures inflation at the wholesale level. So wholesale WPI wholesale index has been revised. The base year has been revised, and along with revision, they have also made certain changes that now in wholesale price index, the total number of items have increased from 697 to 957. Also, they have included a new category or new sphere of new and renewable energy under the electricity section. In addition, nuclear electricity has also been included in it. Then crude petroleum and natural gas has now been shifted from primary articles to fuel and power articles, and targeted mean imputation method has been used to do so. Okay. Other than that, with respect to the wholesale price index and the purchaser price index, what does this basically cover? Wholesale price index is only for goods. Producer price index. Now, producer can be of some producer can be a person who's providing some service also. So, producer is always inclusive of goods and services. Then, price basis is wholesale. Here it is basic or purchaser's prices, that is somebody who's buying it from the market. Services are not included in this. It is included in it. Data for wholesale price index is released monthly. For producer price index, it is released monthly for goods and quarterly for services. Basket 697 here and 557 here. Okay. What does the producer price index measure? It measures inflation from the producer's perspective by tracking input costs, output prices, and services. So producers is basically an entrepreneur. All right. Okay. Acha. Now this is not so important, but because it has been undertaken under NEP, the new education policy, because of this becomes important. All right. So the new education policy launched in 2020. Kuch basics you have to keep in mind. So the basics being that when was the first education policy launched in? Chalo, fatafat start pitching in your answers. The first education policy in which year? Quickly. Yes, good enough. It is 1968. The first education policy was in 1968, and this education policy was on the recommendation of a commission known as the Kothari Commission. All right. Now, this Kothari is Daulat Singh Kothari. Daulat Singh Kothari was also the head of who was the first head of which organization? Daulat Singh Kothari was the head of DRDO. Very good. He was the head of DRDO. All right. So 1968, we had the first education policy. Then the second one was in 1986. It was only known as the second education policy. Wasn't any specific commission that was associated with it. However, the credit has been given to Rajiv Gandhi. Okay. So it was under Rajiv Gandhi's tenure that we got this education policy. And now, after a span of 30 years, we had the next or the third education policy, which is the new education policy of 2020. Now, certain changes pertaining to the new education policy, pertaining to education that the new education policy has brought in. Okay. So, this particular education policy, the 1986 education policy, this policy had firstly renamed the Ministry of Education. So, in 1947, the Ministry of Education was known as Ministry of Education. Okay. Then this Ministry of Education's name was changed in 1986 to Ministry of Human Resource Development. After 34 years, it was through the new education policy that the name of Ministry of Human Resource, Ministry of HRD, Human Resource Development, was reverted to Ministry of Education. Okay. So first thing is that Ministry of Education was named as Ministry of Education. Second thing that NEP did was it brought in a formula. What was the formula? The formula was 5 plus 3 plus 3, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Okay. This was the new formula that they had proposed, under which 5 years was your preschooling, then 3 years was your class 3, 4, and 5, then 6, 7, 8 next 3 years, which is a middle school, and then 9, 10th, 11th, 12th was the last 4 years. Previously, this schooling years was 10 plus 2. So 10 was class 1 to class 10, and then plus 2 was 11th and 12th. So this has been changed with this schooling formula. Achha, now mostly a lot of private schools already had 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. This policy mostly is going to make changes in the government education system. Okay. So that is why they had to highlight it otherwise also through the policy. Then another thing is that the NEP increased the total share of the GDP into the education sector, previously from 2% to now 6%. Okay. So these are the basic changes that they have incorporated. Other than that, to better promote education in India, and one more is the 3-language formula. All right, the 3-language formula has to be very religiously implemented in all schools now, which the CBSE board has begun doing from this year. What is the 3-language formula? That all schools in the country, they have to teach 3 languages in the country, not very rigidly that it has to be Hindi, English, and any other language. It can be any language which is more spoken in their respective states. So, but you have to teach 3 languages. Special emphasis has been laid on Sanskrit, that if Sanskrit is taught, then better. Even if you're not teaching Sanskrit, but other languages have to be taught. This 3-language formula was proposed for the first time in 1968. However, in 1968, it was very rigid, in the sense that the North Indian states had to teach Hindi, English, and any other language. They said that preferably a South Indian language. However, for Southern Indian states, it was a compulsion that they had to teach English, Hindi, and whatever is their South Indian language. Okay. The 3-language formula as for 2020 is not very rigid. It is flexible, that you can teach whichever language it is that you want to in your respective schools, but 3 languages are a must. Tamil Nadu did not adopt a 3-language formula, neither in 1968 nor has it presently also adopted it. All right, so Tamil Nadu is still stuck on the 2-language formula. Okay, so because of this, I wanted to take up NEP for you all. So I hope it is clear. Okay. Chalo. Other than that, we have 4 such universities which are going to be setting up campuses in India. University of Bristol in Bombay or Mumbai, University of York in Mumbai, University of New South Wales in Bangalore, and Liverpool in Bangalore. Okay. Chalo. Next is Ashtalakshmi. Why is this important? Because of the northeastern states. Now, this particular initiative or growth model has been proposed by the government to undertake holistic transformation of the northeast Indian states. All right. So, Ashtalakshmi, which basically depicts the 8 forms of Lakshmi. It is a target, Abhinav, that the government has to increase the GDP's share in education to 6%. When the policy was actually launched, then the GDP share to education was only 2%. Shambhavi, try to keep up. We have only 4 months more for the exam. Okay. Chalo. The term Ashtalakshmi refers to 8 forms of goddess Lakshmi, and here the term Ashtalakshmi is basically representative of the 8 northeastern states. So the 8 northeastern states are 7 states plus 1. So 7 sisters and plus 1 is Sikkim. Okay. So Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim. All right. And this basically has been undertaken to bring about effective development of the northeast Indian states. So what are they going to do? They are going to promote better connectivity through road, rail, air, and digital connectivities. That is better Wi-Fi, etc., etc. Then promotion of trade, tourism, and border infrastructure. This, if you all know, is through which scheme that they are going to undertake better infrastructure development. कौन है ये? Shabash, Abhinav, very good. What is VVIP? Full form बताओ. What is VVIP? Vibrant Village Programs. VVIP नहीं है वो, VVP है. Vibrant Village Programs. All right. So it is through Vibrant Village Programs that they are going to undertake this. It has been effectively launched this year, the second one. Okay. It was announced last year, but Vibrant Village Programs 2.0 has been launched in 2026. All right. Then support for organic farming. Which state in India is the first organic state? Which state in India is the first organic state? And what other distinction does this state hold? Absolutely, it is Sikkim. Sikkim is India's first organic state, and Sikkim has also just last month become another first state for India. Yes, very good. Paperless judiciary. That Sikkim now holds the distinction of a state which has absolutely paperless judiciary, and also that it is India's first organic state. Basics about Sikkim, that Sikkim initially was not a part of India. Initially, Sikkim was made an associate state to the 35th Constitution Amendment Act, which added Article 2A of the Constitution. Then, through the 36th Constitution Amendment Act of 1975, Article 2A was removed from the Constitution and Sikkim was made a full-fledged state. Okay. Then, development of healthcare, education, housing, clean water, etc., and bringing about skill development and reinvigoration of employment opportunities. Okay. Then 5 years of Ministry of Cooperation. This year, we are observing or celebrating 5 years of the establishment of Ministry of Cooperation, meaning that it was established in the year 2021. Now, I will be giving you certain basics on cooperation. I have already discussed it in class, but I will still repeat it. Okay. Okay. So the Ministry of Cooperation, 5th Foundation Day. What all did they do during this 5th Foundation Day? Laid the foundation stones for 47 grain storage godowns. Also, a milk supply review dashboard portal was launched for National Dairy Development Board. Then 2 flagship initiatives of National Urban Cooperative Finance and Development Corporations were unveiled. Sehkar CBS, which is a centralized core banking solution. Okay. Sehkar means cooperation. All right. Or cooperative. And Sehkar Sahyogi, which is an AI powered chatbot basically. All right. It is like a conversational chatbot which will provide you better grievance redressal. Okay. Then Ministry of Cooperation established in 21. Who was the first Minister of Cooperation? Quickly. Who was the first Minister of Cooperation?
Amit Shah.
Amit Shah. Who is the present Minister of Cooperation? What is MT Shah? कौन है ये MT Shah? Shaurya Shetty. Who was the first Minister of, who is the second Minister of Cooperation? Presently also it is this one. Amit Shah. All right. Okay. Then the vision of Ministry of Cooperation is Sehkar se Samriddhi. It is still present. The vision is same. That is Sehkar se Samriddhi. All right. Then nodal ministry is Ministry of Cooperation. Then cooperation or cooperatives were given a constitutional status through the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011. What did this do? This added Article 43B in Directive Principles of State Policy and also included Part 9B in the Constitution plus Articles 243ZH to 243ZT pertaining to cooperatives. Therefore, it basically gave us the right to form cooperatives in the country. Okay. Now, last year in 2025, pertaining to corporations, there were 2 things. One was that India launched its second cooperative policy. All right. The second cooperative policy was launched in 2025. When was the first cooperative policy launched? In 2002. Very good. The first cooperative policy was in 2002. Okay. So the second one was in 2025. The first one was in 2002. You have to keep in mind that the cooperation policy had come much before than the Constitution Amendment. All right. So 2002, we had the first cooperation policy. 2025, we had the second cooperation policy. All right. Okay. Then 2025, we had the second UN International Year of Cooperatives. Okay. The second UN International Year of Cooperatives. When was the first UN International Year of Cooperatives? When was the first UN International Year of Cooperatives? In 2012. Okay. So 2012 was the first UN International Year of Cooperation and the second one was last year, 2025. All right. Then in 2025, India established its first cooperative university, which was Tribhuvan Sehkari University, which has been established in Anand, Gujarat. All right. this particular university has been an improvement over, or previously it was the Integrated Rural Development something called Management University, which was in Anand, Gujarat, established in 1969. This university has now been made Tribhuvan Das Sehakari University, established last year. This cooperative university is India's first cooperative university as well as Asia's first cooperative university. Okay, and now the most important bit. The father of cooperation or cooperative movement in India. There is only one father, and again, I'm repeating, the father of cooperative movement in India is nobody other than Tribhuvan Das Kishibhai Patel. Whatever XYZ name it is that you may read in XYZ sources, please, it is only one person, and it is Tribhuvan Das Kishibhai Patel. Okay? Tribhuvan Das Kishibhai Patel. And in the world, it is Frederick Nicholson. And in the world, it is Frederick Nicholson. Okay? Chalo. This is everything pertaining to cooperation that you have to keep in mind. All right. Then external affairs. The first is FATF. FATF is important. Why? Because the vice president of FATF is an Indian, and he was, still is maybe, the secretary to Ministry of Culture. He has been elected as the vice president of FATF, and he will succeed Giles Thompson of United Kingdom. Giles Thompson has now been appointed as the next FATF president. So do remember, the FATF president, Giles Thompson, and the vice president now is Vivek Agarwal. Giles Thompson is going to replace Elisa de Anda Madrazo of Mexico. Okay, now the basics of FATF that you have to keep in mind. FATF, again, firstly, the full form is important. Financial Action Task Force. This was established by G7 countries in 1989. All right. And initially, when it was established, it was only established for the purpose of rooting out the problem of money laundering. So money laundering is simply a process. I think it is written here, money laundering. Okay. For money laundering. So money laundering is simply a process of converting black money into white money through illegal means. All right. So initially its ambit was to include only money laundering. Then the 9/11 attack happened in the United States of America. And following the 9/11 attack in 2001, along with money laundering, terror financing was also added to the ambit of Financial Action Task Force. So terror financing and money laundering simply implies that when you are converting black money into white money, and then this illegal money is being used to finance terror activities in your country or some other country. Okay, then after this, again, it was in 2008 that FATF included a third category into its ambit, which was financing of weapons of mass destruction. Okay. All right. Now, India is a part of two FATF-style regional bodies. Do keep in mind the two bodies, the Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering and the Eurasian Group on Combating Money Laundering and Financing of Terrorism. It is headquartered in Paris, France. All right. Now, India became a member of this in 2010. FATF in total has 40 members, 38 countries, and 2 organizations. Now, naturally, you can't remember the names of 38 countries, but the 2 organizations are important. GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, and EC is European Council. Then FATF presidency runs on a 2-year term. The vice president assists the president. So, Vivek Agarwal has been appointed for a 2-year period. All right. Then, because the purpose is to root out money laundering and terror financing, and now also financing of weapons of mass destruction. So it keeps an eye, it keeps a watch on such countries which in any manner is doing any of this. To keep this watch, it has or maintains 2 lists. All right. One is known as your gray list and the other is known as your black list. Now, gray list is officially known as jurisdictions under increased monitoring, whereas blacklist is known as high risk jurisdiction. Okay. AML and CFT बार बार आएगा, तो AML is anti money laundering, CFT is combating the financing of terrorism. As of June 2026, we have some around 22 countries in grey list and 3 countries in blacklist. Okay, so North Korea, Myanmar, and Iran are in blacklist. Other than that, India, I think 2-3 years back, India was put in a category known as the regular follow-up category, and this category is basically the highest possible rating that is awarded by FATF for to any country which is effectively undertaking steps to root out money laundering and terror financing. Okay, and other than India, from amongst the G20 countries, we have UK, France, and Italy who are included in the regular follow-up category.
So these topics are connected. In fact, the next topic that we are going to do is also connected with this, which is the G7. So I'll just give you the basic chronology here that OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, which was set up in the year 1960, and primarily the founding members of OPEC were Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi, and Venezuela, right? And OPEC, the Yom Kippur War in the year 1973, which was Israel up against Egypt and Syrian forces, and in which, of course, Egypt and Syria lost. And the Arabs, they decided to, the OPEC decided to the Yom Kippur War. Okay? 1973 में, so they decided to stop the supply to the Western countries. This led to the oil shock. When this led to the oil shock, the G6 countries, okay, which was basically USA, Italy, Japan, UK, France, and Germany. Then it was West Germany. They decided to meet and form this group G6. These were the richest countries of the world then. The following year, Canada joined, and this became G7. This G7 group, in the year 1989, formed the FATF, right? The Financial Action Task Force, basically to stop the black money coming into the regular economy, or black money becoming white. Then in the year 2001, after the 9/11 attacks, they added the terror financing bit also to it. India joined this group in the year 2011, right? And Anda Madraso was the FATF president, and recently she has gone, and now from UK we have Gilly Thompson, who has become the FATF head. Now India has become the vice chair, the vice president of the FATF, which is Vivek Agarwal, and that is why FATF is news. Now, as ma'am said, there is a grey list, there is a blacklist, and there is a regular follow-up category. India comes in the regular follow-up category, and the grey list keeps updating. The countries keep joining, the countries going out. So recently, Namibia and Algeria, they were out of the grey list, but that keeps updating. So you really don't have to learn as to who is coming in and who is going out. But you should know that India comes in the regular follow-up category. There are blacklisted countries, which is Myanmar, Iran, and North Korea. Okay? So as of now, there are 38 countries which are part of it, and the two bodies that are part of it is the Gulf Cooperation Council. Now, the Gulf Cooperation Council was formed in the year 1981, and this is based at Riyadh. So these GCC countries, one is free to move and free to work in these GCC countries. So what are these countries? It is basically, you have Saudi, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, So these are the countries which are part of the 6 of them. I think Iraq is also part of it.
GCC है.
So, right. So Qatar, Oman, Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait, and one more.
Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi, and UAE.
And UAE, not Iraq is not the one.
Iraq.
UAE is the 6th one. So there are 6 countries. So just remember GCC, UAE, Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Oman. Right? So these are the 6 countries which are part of GCC, and this was set up in the year 1981. Their headquarters is Riyadh. You know the head of the commission, or the European Union Commissioner, is Ursula de Leyen. She was here for a Republic Day as a chief guest, along with Antonio Costa, who is the head of the European Council. The headquarters of this is in Brussels, and there are 27 countries which are part of it. Earlier it was 28. Brexit happened on 31st of January 2020, when it was 28, and then Britain exited, and after that it is 27 countries. So just learn these finer points also when you are doing it. Okay. Now the next topic is G7. So like I said, G7, the meeting was held in Evian, which is in France, and this was the 52nd edition of G7. And whenever, I mean, I've already told you the name of these countries. Canada, North Atlantic has 2 countries, Canada and USA. Then you have, from the Europe area, you have UK, France, Italy. So earlier it was West Germany, but after the Berlin Wall collapsed in 1989, East Germany became part of the Germany. So it is Germany now, right? And Japan. So these are the countries. And if in case you forget it, remember the cheat code of this: juice with girlfriend is a cheat code for this. So Japan, then UK, Italy, then you have Canada. In fact, E is, I'm forgetting it. This is G, Germany.
E must be England.
नहीं, England नहीं आ
काला
रही.
UK, England का E होगा, and
नहीं.
U is USA.
Sorry, yeah. So this is Japan, this is USA, this is Italy, this is Canada, this is England. So England is like, England का मतलब UK हो गया, but ऐसे नहीं होता UK. England plus Wales plus Scotland plus Northern Ireland makes it a UK. But just to remember, and then you have Germany,
France,
right? And France, Germany and France. So otherwise, I mean, you should know it. In case you forget, this is a cheat code for you. The 7 countries which are part of it. Okay. And this was the 52nd edition. The first edition of G7 meeting was in France, very close to Paris. Is this place called Rambouillet, where the meeting was, right? And the theme you should know: forgiving new partnerships and rebuilding international solidarity, was the theme of this year's G7 meeting. Okay, so forging, not forgetting, forging new partnerships and rebuilding international solidarity, right? The next G7 meeting is going to be in USA. Last year, which was the 51st edition, the meeting was in Alberta in Canada. Okay? Also remember that whenever there is a G7 meeting, there are, so EU is a non-enumerative member in this. EU is a non-enumerative member in this, right? So you have G7 plus the European Union always participating. From 1978, the European Union has been participating. They also invite the World Bank, okay? That's headed by Ajay Banga, right? World Bank is also in the news because India has an executive director there now, Neelkant Mishra. Okay, so World Bank is invited. They call IMF. The head of IMF is Kristalina Georgieva, right? And they also invite the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, right? Antonio Guterres. So these are 3 people who are always invited for the summit. Remember, next year's G7 meeting is in USA. Also, G7 was responsible for the formation of G20 in the year 1998 after the Asian crisis, because they felt that the economies are interconnected. When the share market collapsed in the Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, it had its effect with the Western countries also. That's why from 1998, the finance ministers of G20 started meeting, which eventually led to the head of the state start meeting from the year 2008, right? So G20 is a separate topic. We can take that up later. But remember, the 53rd edition of the G7 meeting is going to be in USA. And this year, G20 meeting is taking place, will be taking place in Miami, USA. So, right? So remember that. So India hosted the 18th edition of G20, right? And after that, it was in Brazil and then South Africa. And now it is going to be in USA. So this is the 21st edition of G20, and this was the 52nd edition, right? So ma'am is going to discuss about the important outcomes of this event.
This one thing that the Prime Minister has made it's his 8th consecutive appearance in the G7. Okay? And I think this was India's 13th appearance. So do keep in mind. And he addressed the G7 summit outreach session. So jo address kya hai, that you have to keep in mind, his consecutive appearance and how many times totally has India been a part of it. Then what were the major outcomes? Naturally, because it is almost an anti-Russia organization or grouping. So it did give unwavering support to Ukraine. Then also all the major crises that are taking place in the world, that is the crisis with respect to Middle East, Russia, Middle East in the sense Iran, Israel, US war. Then we have the Gaza-Israel war that is going on. Okay. Then global AI frameworks. Now, here significance is that this year India hosted the Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit. Please keep the basics in mind. This was the 4th one that India had hosted. Because India had hosted it, so here we did give in major reports. This was the 4th one. India was the first global South country to host it. Previously, the first one in 2023, UK, Bletchley Park. Second in South Korea, Seoul. In 2024-25, we had it in Paris, France, which is co-chaired by India. This year in India. Next year, it is in Geneva, Switzerland. The next year, that is 28, is going to be UAE. So AI is something that is continuously a part of your daily current affairs. So that is why here also AI was talked about. So just remember that AI is something that they will talk about. Achha. Now supply chain resilience, please relate it to Pax Silica. Okay. Pax Silica was launched by the US this year. Peace, Pax stands for peace. Silica is the term that is used for silicon, and silicon is the basic raw material for semiconductors. So through Pax Silica, naturally they wanted a very smooth global supply chain of silicon to root out the dominance of China in semiconductors manufacturing. So not only, this is just one major initiative which is with respect to this, that is why pitched in. Do keep that in mind. And other than that, obviously, they are going to ensure supply chain resilience in terms of the present crisis also. Like we in India, we were facing LNG shortages. We were facing price rise for petroleum, similar. Okay. Then climate and environment, it reviewed the G7 2030 Nature Compact. So this is one thing that you have to keep in mind. Then India's major highlights, in what did India basically address? So Prime Minister addressed the G7 outreach session. Okay. So here he participated along with Brazil, Egypt, Kenya, South Korea, the World Bank and African Development Bank in the session. The theme has already been discussed with you. The Prime Minister highlighted the significance of maritime security in the face of all the crises that the global world order is facing pertaining to the Strait of Hormuz. Other than that, obviously, when we were there, so India did negotiate major bilateral agreements. One of them is with India and Canada. So India and Canada, they concluded a CEPA, which is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And this was negotiated when Mark Carney was in India also. during his Quad nation visits. All right. So Quad nations, in the sense, other than United States of America, Canada had visited India, Japan, as well as Australia, only to basically start establishing trade relations and be less dependent on the United States of America. Also, do remember, with respect to the Prime Minister of Canada, which is Mark Carney, this year he has made significant headlines, specifically with respect to the Davos summit, which is a summit, annual summit that takes place of the World Economic Forum. So here he gave a doctrine which was known as the Carney Doctrine. All right. Through the Carney Doctrine, he basically pitched in for the rise of the middle order countries. All right. So this is all that you have to keep in mind with respect to him and his Carney Doctrine. All right. So aligning with that, he naturally pitched in a trade pact with India, which was to increase double our two-way, that is bilateral trade, by 2030, and Canada is India's 7th largest trading partner. Also, establishment of Raisena Americas. All right, so this has been pitched in this year through the bilateral negotiations between Canada and India. So Raisena Americas is along the same line as the Raisena Dialogue that India hosts every year. All right. So the Raisena Dialogue is India's sole international geopolitical and geoeconomic dialogue, which the Ministry of External Affairs, along with Observer Research Foundation, hosts. So along the same formula, they have announced that with the American countries, they are going to host a similar Raisena Dialogue. So that has been called as Raisena Americas. All right. Then with the United Kingdom, India and UK, they basically reviewed the progress on India-UK Vision 2035 framework, which was negotiated last year. Okay. And also reaffirmed commitments on Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, which was again done last year. Then India and UAE, they expressed mutual concerns over everything that has been happening in West Asia. And also our Prime Minister, he formally invited the UAE President to attend the BRICS Summit this year in September. Okay. Then the basics of G7, sir has already discussed with you all. So I will not get into this in detail again. Just remember that the first meeting took place in 1973, known as the Library Group Meeting, because this meeting was held outside the White House Library. That is why it was known as the Library Group Meeting. Other than that, its first official summit is what they call as the 1975 summit. Although in 1970, the summit was held in France, but 1975, they were not G7. Or they effectively became G7 somewhere in 1976 after the joining of Canada. Then the Cold War came to an end in 1991. Relations between USSR, Russia and the Western European powers as well as USA bettered, and therefore Russia was included in it formally it was in the sense that informally talked about in 1997, then included in 1998, where G7 became G8. Then Russia undertook the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine in 2014, after which Russia was ousted from the grouping. And since 2014, G8 has reverted back to G7. Okay. All right. Then India-France relations. This is important for this year because we have negotiated a lot, even on the sidelines of the Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit. Then when our Prime Minister had gone there. And thirdly, that 2026 has also been declared by both the countries as India-France Year of Innovations. Okay. All right. So here, when our Prime Minister had gone there, so they negotiated on bilateral agreements as well and announced 13 agreements covering technology, trade, space, education, and innovation. Now, this is very important that they have upgraded or elevated their relations to special global strategic partnership. Now, this is a term that has been used, I think, at least in India's context for the first time. So do keep in mind that what is the status of the relation between India and France. So it is special global strategic partnership. Also, 2026 February, he had come to India, the French President Emmanuel Macron. Then India and France, they have inaugurated Bharat Innovates 2026. All right, Bharat Innovates in line with India-France Year of Innovation. Okay. All right. Then they announced India-France ATL bridge, which was officially established at Bharat Innovates, and it is a high-level bilateral education and technology ecosystem corridors where basically we are going to link school level innovators, educators, etc. in the sense fostering educational cooperation. Okay. Then Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, and La Foundation Dassault Systems have also jointly partnership. All right. So significant undertakings have been undertaken. Then again, Vivatech Summit also in Europe, which is Europe's largest technology startup event, which was participated into by India, and India was the largest pavilion partner in the summit this year. Okay, then they are trying to double their bilateral trade from current $16 billion to $32 billion within 5 years. So India, France, pretty important this year. Do keep in mind. All right. Another thing pertaining to the same, a new India-France economic security dialogue will be launched. Skill development programs between the two countries in Kanpur. Okay. Adoption of innovation roadmap. Why? Because 2026 is India-France Year of Innovation. All right. Expansion of India's UPI in France will also take place this year. So our Prime Minister has apparently undertaken every possible thing with France. Now there's nothing left to negotiate on to with France anymore. Okay. And the Prime Minister has invited French universities to India to set up their campuses. In one of the previous slides we had done that 4 new university campuses will be set up in India. So all of them are from UK. Now they've also invited French universities to set up campuses in India. Okay. Achha, 2026, India-France Year of Innovation, when the Prime Minister had gone for a bilateral visit to Italy. Then Italy and India have also announced 2027 as in Italy-India Year of Tourism and Culture. Okay. Now coming to this, although no longer relevant because the war has already begun, in the sense that all of this has come crashing down. But because it was negotiated, so the basics of it you have to keep in mind. Okay. Now the war began on 28th of February, and the US president had a maximum window of 60 days to either end the war or to get the Congress of the United States of America to agree to it. All right. The Congress, lesser chances of the Congress to agree to it were there. So what did the US president do is that he brokered a ceasefire to the war after around 40 to 45 days of fighting. All right. Then there were 2 countries, Qatar and Pakistan, who were acting as mediators between US and Iran to broker a peace. All right. And therefore, the US signed an agreement at the Palace of Versailles, the same Versailles where the Versailles Treaty was undertaken in France, and Iran signed it in Tehran. This was the memorandum of understanding, in the sense that whatever terms are here, it was a 14-point peace agreement. The US president has a major knack to bring up massive pointers or massively pointed peace agreements. For example, this one was a 14-point agreement. The Gaza peace agreement was a 20-point agreement. Okay? So here they undertook this 14-item memorandum of understanding. It was a memorandum of understanding which basically put down certain pointers that the peace agreement between the 2 countries are going to center around these 14 points. All right. And they gave in a 60-day negotiation window for the entire effective peace agreement to come into existence. Okay? Chalo, key highlights: immediate multilateral ceasefire, that absolute and permanent termination of all direct and proxy military operations everywhere, including Lebanon. So when they said including Lebanon, Lebanon had a lot of issues with this. So Lebanon did protest, saying that no direct negotiations have taken place with Lebanon and you are including Lebanon in this. Now, Lebanon has another crisis with Israel. But one thing that you have to keep in mind pertaining to Lebanon, that Lebanon has two parallel governments. One is by the whatever sort of elected governments that they have, that is with the president and the prime minister of Lebanon, and one is run by the militant group Hezbollah. So Hezbollah does not consider any negotiations with the prime minister or president of Lebanon as legitimate negotiations, and the government of Lebanon does not consider any negotiations with Hezbollah as legitimate. Okay. Then US completely terminates its naval blockades in the Gulf of Oman region, that is the Strait of Hormuz region. It had blockaded the region because Iran was effectively not opening it. Then a 60-day technical standstill window, that within 60 days, no attack, counter-attack, etc. will undertake, and they have to effectively bring about a peace agreement between the two countries. All right. Also, they said that whatever international assets of Iran have been frozen, they will be released such that better economic opportunities to Iran can entail. And other than that, they also talked about or spoke about removal of economic sanctions on Iran. All right. And also, US said that I think it is going to extend something, an entire concerted amount of almost $300 billion to Iran for reconstruction after the war. However, do keep in mind that when the war began, the basic aim of the war was to bring about a regime change in Iran, and also to bring about a regime change and to raise Iran's nuclear program or ambitions to ground. ठीक है, तो ये दोनों चीजें you have to keep in mind. Then Israel and Lebanon also had agreed to a ceasefire, and they said that there would be a complete cessation of attacks. All right. So do keep this in mind. All right. Then this was the Lake Lucerne summit, which was held in June in Switzerland, where they basically undertook this summit to facilitate direct negotiations between US and Iran. It was mediated by Qatar and Pakistan. This summit had concluded with the signing of the 14-point memorandum of understanding. All right. Just the 60-day period effectively has not come to an end, but the war has begun because of bombings, because bombings have begun effectively from both the sides. All right. Then this was also in news that the US has attacked certain ships with Indian crew. Just keep in mind the name of the ships. That is Setebello, Marivex, and Jalveer. Okay. Chalo. Then a basic framework of the Israel-Lebanon deal, which is considered as a trilateral deal. Why a trilateral deal? Because it is between US, Israel, and Lebanon in Washington, which was signed in Washington, D.C. And it was signed between the US Secretary General of State, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Israel's ambassador to US, Yechiel Leiter, and Lebanon's ambassador to US, Nada Hamadeh. Okay. So do keep these people in mind. Then what have they provided for? The agreement aims to establish a process for dismantling Hezbollah and for Lebanon to regain occupied territory by Israeli forces. A new military coordination group for Lebanon will be facilitated by US. US commits $100 million in humanitarian assistance to Lebanon, and also this is going to be one major pathway to peace between Israel and Lebanon. Okay. Chalo. The next is that India and Vietnam, they have signed a BrahMos missile export deal. So India had gone to participate in the Shangri-La dialogue in Singapore, and here the defense secretary, who is also as of now the person who's been given the additional charge as the head of DRDO, that is Defense Research and Development Organization, Rajesh Kumar Singh. So it was between the head of DRDO and Vietnam that this particular deal was signed. So it is roughly a $620 billion deal that we are going to export our BrahMos missile system to Vietnam. Now, what do you have to keep in mind? That Vietnam has become the second country with whom we have signed the BrahMos missile export deal. Which country was the first country with whom we had signed it? Absolutely. Tum wait kar rahe the na? You were waiting for me to ask this question, Shresh. Good. So Philippines. Philippines is the first country with which we have signed this deal. and Vietnam is the second one. With Indonesia, we are still on negotiation terms. We're still negotiating with it, but as of now, we have not, the deal has not culminated. Okay, Shangri-La dialogue is like the Raisina dialogue. It is an international forum dialogue where different countries are invited to participate in the summit. Okay. All right, about BrahMos. BrahMos is a long-range nuclear-capable supersonic cruise missile. This is what you have to keep in mind. Other than that, what you have to keep in mind that it is being developed by DRDO and NPO of Russia. Also, the name BrahMos is after two rivers, Brahmaputra from India and Moskova from Russia. The agreement to begin BrahMos construction or establishment was signed in 1998, and its first successful test was undertaken in 2001. Okay, so this was launched from a land-based launcher at Chandipur in Odisha. All right. Okay. Then our Prime Minister had gone to Seychelles. Now, with respect to Seychelles, there are two things that you have to keep in mind. One, that he was given this honor. Actually, three things that you have to keep in mind. One, that he was given this honor, that is Guardian of the Blue Horizon. So, our Prime Minister basically now holds the record of the highest state honors awarded to any Prime Minister or any leader. So, I think 34 is his number. He has been given 34 highest honors of different countries. So, Guardian of the Blue Horizon has been given to him. And it was 50th anniversary, I think. 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between India and Seychelles. Also, Seychelles joined the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. This Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure was established in the year 2019 at the UN Climate Action Summit in support with UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. It has a total of 58 countries and 12 organizations. Importance of CDRI is that it is one of the three organizations to have it's three international organizations to be headquartered in India. So one is CDRI, established in 2019, headquartered in New Delhi. The other two are quickly International Solar Alliance and IBCA. Now, when was International Solar Alliance established? When was International Solar Alliance established? 2015. International Solar Alliance is 2015. And which country is a co-partner with India in establishing International Solar Alliance? France. Very good. Where is International Solar Alliance headquartered? Gurugram. Shabash. Then next, IBCA. IBCA was established in which year? 2023. Commemorating what? What was commemorated in 2023 for the establishment of IBCA? Project Tiger, established in 1973. And where is the headquarters of IBCA? Where is the headquarters of IBCA? New Delhi. And who is the current president or chairperson of IBCA? Who is the current chairperson? Bhupendra Yadav. What portfolio is Bhupendra Yadav holding? Ministry of Environment, not Education Minister, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Good. Shabash. Chalo. Iske alawa, other than this, another thing pertaining to this Seychelles summit or meeting was Jonathan. Okay. So Jonathan is considered as the world's oldest known living land animal. It was this cutie that our Prime Minister had met on his visit to Seychelles. Okay? So it is estimated that Jonathan was born in 1832, which makes him approximately 194 years old. Okay? Chalo. Now, history, art and culture. There are 2-3 things in this that has happened in the month of June. So one, naturally, you must already be anticipating is the dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. Okay? So it was a controversy during the month of June where the NCERT apparently had the picture of dancing girl covered in whatever, they were not clothes, but they basically blackened it just to make it more school appropriate. That made it a controversy. Because it made it a controversy, it became a part of your current affairs. Okay. So what are the basics about it that you have to keep in mind? That the dancing girl is a bronze statue unearthed in 1926 by archaeologist Ernest Mackay in Mohenjo-daro. All right. So the dancing girl was unearthed in Mohenjo-daro. Do keep in mind, Mohenjo-daro is a part of Indus Valley Civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization was first found in 1921. Then it was announced to the world in 1924 by the then Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. Who was the Director General then? It was John Marshall. And it was John Marshall only that named it the dancing girl. Why? Because she was standing in a posture. The posture is known as the Tribhaga posture. Okay? So do keep it in mind. Tribhaga or Tribhanga bhi likha ho sakta hai kahin kahin. So the Tribhaga or the Tribhanga posture. Tribhanga in the sense that it was bent. She was bent at 3 angles. That is why it was known as Tribhanga. It is 10.5 centimeters tall, roughly 4 inches. Okay? The statue is roughly 4 inches long. All right. Then the statue was created using lost wax casting technique. This is also known as Sire Purdue. Okay? ये term याद रखना. Sire Purdue. Okay? Sire Purdue is the official name of the lost wax casting technique. So what they basically do in it is that they first make a sculpture with wax. Okay? Wax is basically easy to mold. Then they cover it with clay. Then they bake it. After baking, the clay becomes a mold. They melt out the wax from inside and then they fill in copper or melted bronze, whatever. And then this melted bronze, it basically takes the shape of that particular structure or clay structure, and that statue or whatever it is that they want to make is formed. All right. Presently, it is in the National Museum. Basics about Indus Valley Civilization. That the Indus Valley Civilization roughly flourished around 2000 years back, and it is found in the northwestern part of India, inclusive of Pakistan as well as India. The first site to be discovered was Harappa. That is why the Indus Valley Civilization is also known as the Harappan Civilization. And otherwise Indus Valley Civilization, because the entire civilization flourished along the Indus River and its 5 major tributaries. Okay. The largest site of the Indus Valley Civilization is Rakhigarhi, which is in Haryana. Rakhigarhi is India's largest site, plus it is the overall largest site of the Indus Valley Civilization. Okay. Harappa is on the banks of Ravi River. Mohenjo-daro is on the banks of Indus River. All right. Other than that, we have other prominent sites of the Indus Valley Civilization, which is Banavali, Kalibangan, Chanundhado, Suktagindor, Lothal, Dholavira. So do read a little bit about these. Also, Harappa was first discovered by Dayaram Sahani in 1921. The entire civilization was announced to the world in 1924. Dayaram Sahani founded Harappa, and R.D. Banerjee had founded Mohenjo-daro. Okay, do keep in mind. Also, my one last question to you all, that who was the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India? What is Alexander Vedushi? Does he have a surname? Who was the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India? Absolutely correct. It was Alexander Cunningham. Good. Okay, these are other major cities. Do keep in mind, Lothal is the coastal port town, in the sense that one of the major regions where the ports were located in Indus Valley Civilization, and the Indus Valley Civilization people did undertake international trade. International trade was specifically undertaken with 2 regions. What were the name of the 2 regions? with whom the Indus Valley civilization undertook trade? Yes, very good. Mesopotamia and Oman. What was Oman known as back then? What was Oman known as back then? Magan. Good. All right. Chalo. Lothal. Alright. Dholavira is important because Dholavira is the only World Heritage Site from India into UNESCO's program. And sorry, it is the only UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Indus Valley civilization's various sites from India, and it was announced in 2021. Okay, chalo. Iske alawa, just one more thing, like a very brief that you have to keep in mind, that human skeletal remains were excavated from Rakhigadi in Haryana, and they have been handed over to ACI for further research. You just have to keep in mind that in 2026, human skeletal remains have been excavated from Rakhigadi. Rakhigadi ka importance kya hai? That Rakhigadi is the largest Indus Valley civilization site in India. Okay, all right. Then 3rd of June 2026 marks the 79th anniversary of the Mountbatten Plan, also known as the June 3 Plan. Okay. Now, the details of it I will be covering for you all in classes in the history sessions, but the basics of it that you have to keep in mind. So it was this plan, the Mountbatten Plan, naturally known as the Mountbatten Plan because it was given by Lord Louis Mountbatten. Who was Lord Louis Mountbatten? He was the last viceroy of British India, and he was independent India's first Governor General for a period of 1 year from 1947 to 1948. After which we had another Governor General for a 2-year period from 1948 to 1950. Who was India's first Indian Governor General that replaced Lord Mountbatten? Batao. Absolutely correct. C. Rajagopalachari. All right. So now Lord Mountbatten came to India as the last viceroy, and he replaced Lord Wavell. All right. And in March 1947, he gave the Mountbatten Plan. Why was this given? Because naturally, no other option was left given the violent riots and crisis in the country other than bifurcation of the country. So what were the basic provisions of it? That India would be bifurcated or partitioned into 2 independent dominions, which would have their own constituent assemblies, and the 2 independent dominions would be India and Pakistan. The legislative assemblies of Punjab and Bengal were to vote whether their provinces should remain united or be partitioned. So both of them did agree that Punjab was to be partitioned. Half of that went to West Pakistan, and Bengal was partitioned. So East Bengal became then East Pakistan, and then eventually Bangladesh. Also, referendums, that is public voting, were held in Northwest Frontier Province region and the Sylhet district of Assam. Okay, so that Chicken Bing of Bangladesh, that Chicken Bing was actually the Sylhet district. Okay, that was a part of Assam. And both of them voted to be a part of Pakistan. All right. Okay. Other than that, Sindh Legislative Assembly was also given the autonomy to decide whether it wants to be a part of India or a part of Pakistan. Then because the country was to be partitioned, so naturally new boundaries, territorial demarcations had to be undertaken. These territorial demarcations were undertaken through the Boundary Commission, which was headed by Sir Cyril Radcliffe, and therefore the international boundary between India and Pakistan and Bangladesh is known as the Radcliffe Line. Princely states were given the choice that they can be a part of either of the two new dominions. They could be a part of India, they could be a part of Pakistan, or they were given the alternative to remain independent. Okay, and then the transfer of power was to be not delayed till 18th of June 1948, but it was to be given much earlier by 15th of August 1945. Why was it sped up to this extent? Only because of the massive crisis that took place in terms of communal rights in the country. Okay? So naturally, The Indian National Congress agreed to it because it wanted speedy transfer of power, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah or Muslim League agreed to it because Pakistan was created. Okay, all right. Then 25th of June every year is Samvidhan Hatya Divas. Why is this day celebrated or commemorated basically? Because of the 1975 emergency. So national emergency in the country has been implemented 3 times. One was in 1962. One was in 1965. One was in 1962. One was in 1971. And one was in 1975. The above 2 emergencies were on grounds of external aggression and war. The 1975 emergency was particularly on grounds of internal disturbance. Okay. So because of this, and this particular day of Samvidhan Hatya Divas or Constitution Murder Day has been observed since 2024. All right. So last year it was 50 years of this emergency. This year it's the 51st year. What are the basic provisions of national emergency? Number 1, Article 352. Article 352 provides that a national emergency may be proclaimed by the president on grounds of war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. So initially it was internal disturbance. It was through the 44th Constitution Amendment Act that internal disturbance was replaced with armed rebellion. All right. Why? Because the grounds of internal disturbance was effectively misused during the 1975 proclamation. Now, once the emergency is proclaimed, it has to be passed by a special majority by both the houses of the parliament within 1 month. Once it is approved, it will stay put for a period of 6 months, after which it has to be reapproved. And it can be extended indefinitely in the sense that there is no maximum term that a national emergency can be implemented in a country. It can be extended indefinitely, but it has to be reapproved every 6 months. Okay. All right. Then other things pertaining to national emergency, Article 352 provides for proclamation of national emergency. Article 358 provides for suspension of all fundamental rights under Article 19. Article 358, suspension of all fundamental rights under Article 19. Article 359, suspension of all fundamental rights under Article suspension of other fundamental rights. All right. So initially the provision was this. Then it was through the 44th Constitution Amendment Act of 1978. Okay? This 44th Constitution Amendment Act firstly said that this article can remove or suspend all fundamental rights other than fundamental rights under Article 20 and 21. Okay? Then the second thing it did, that it replaced internal disturbance with armed rebellion. Then it said that emergency will be proclaimed by the president on written recommendation. Okay? On written recommendation of the cabinet and the prime minister. It shouldn't be a verbal or an oral recommendation. It has to be written, only then will it be proclaimed. Okay. And other than that, any other change that you all remember that has been undertaken through the 44th Constitution Amendment Act? Armed rebellion 20 and 21 were made sacrosanct. Written recommendation had to be compulsory. Okay. And other than that, one more thing about it is that there's I think nothing else. That there was a commission that was established to investigate into all of this, and it was the Shah Commission. Okay? It was the Shah Commission that was appointed to it. And also one more thing, yes, judicial review. Okay? What did the 44th Amendment said? That no fundamental rights, the grounds for proclamation of national emergency is not beyond judicial review, in the sense that once national emergency is proclaimed, it will not, it is not that after revocation of the national emergency, the grounds for proclamation of national emergency can't be picked up for judicial review. Acha, Atharvan Abhinav, Article 31 and property, etc., that was not emergency related change. All right, they were brought in through the 44th Constitution Amendment, but they were not emergency related changes. Somebody asked me for an ordinance. Yes, during a national emergency, the president can bring in an ordinance to implement any new law, etc. But then once the parliament meets back, it has to be passed by the parliament within 6 weeks. If it is not passed, then the ordinance lapses. Okay. Ma'am, emergencies for a number of, yes. Once a national emergency is proclaimed, there is no maximum limit to it, like the state emergency. In case of a state emergency can remain in power only for a maximum of 3 years. And that too, within 1 year, you have to remove the state emergency. Okay. But in case of a national emergency, it remains put for indefinite time period, but it has to be reapproved every 6 months. Okay. Okay. Just one last thing about emergency is that with respect to the national emergency, with respect to emergency provisions, it is the Government of India Act 1935 which provides for the basic provisions pertaining to emergency, and it is the Weimar Republic Constitution of Germany that provides for suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. ठीक है, ये चीजें याद रखना. All right. Then coming to the next segment, science, technology, and environment. The first is that India has had its 100th Ramsar site. Now, kyunki we have hit a century, because a century has been made, now this could be a probable question for your exam. Also, Ramsar has been asked previously in 2022. All right, so you can't absolutely rule out that it may not be asked again. So the 100th Ramsar site for India has been Jayaprakash Narayan Bird Sanctuary, also known as the Suraha Tal in Balia. Okay. Acha. Other than that, with this, India naturally is the country with the highest number of Ramsar sites in Asia and the third highest globally. The highest number of Ramsar sites is of United Kingdom, 1976, and Mexico is the second highest, 144. Okay. Now, basics of Ramsar we have done innumerable times. Other than that, obviously, the Ramsar sites that have been added in 2026. The 97th was Patna Bird Sanctuary in January. We had the 98th also, Charidhand wetland in Gujarat, and 99 we had Sheikh Hajir, which was from UP. Now, with this, Tamil Nadu still holds the first position with total of 20 Ramsar sites, and second highest is UP with 13 Ramsar sites. The Ramsar Convention is actually International Convention on Wetlands, especially of waterfowl habitat. So this is the name of the convention. However, it is formally also known as the Ramsar Convention because it was held in the city of Ramsar in Iran on 2nd of February 1971. To commemorate this first conference on 2nd of February, every year the day is observed as World Wetlands Day. The convention was implemented in 1975 and India ratified it in 1982. The first site from India was the Chilika Lake. And other than this, we have a total of 2 sites in the Montrex record. One is Keoladeo National Park and the other is the Loktak Lake in Manipur. What is the Montrex record? The Montrex record is a register in which wetlands which are significantly endangered are included. So we had 3 initially. We had the Loktak Lake in Manipur, we had the Keoladeo National Park of Rajasthan, and we had the Chilika Lake. But the Chilika Lake was removed in the year 2002. Why? Because it was significantly conserved. However, Loktak Lake of Manipur and the Keoladeo National Park of Rajasthan is still a part of Montrex record. Now, my question, which national park is in the Loktak Lake and what is its speciality? Bata bhai. Which national park? So speciality, I'll tell you. It is the world's only floating national park. What is the name of the national park? The name of the national park is Kibul Lamjao. Very good. It is Kibul Lamjao. Kibul Lamjau is the only floating national park, not only of India, but of the world. So Kibul Lamjau is on the Loktak Lake. Why is it known as a floating national park? Because it has a special type of plant which is known as fumdis. All right, and they float like small islands on the lake. Okay. Other than that, Manipur is also, and this Loktak Lake specifically is also has a special species of deer known as the Sangai deer, for which we have the Sangai Deer Festival in Manipur every year. Okay? Other than that, the world's first Ramsar site was, which was the world's first Ramsar site? The Cobourg Peninsula of Australia. Very good. The Cobourg Peninsula of Australia was the world's first Ramsar site. Which Ramsar site is India's largest Ramsar site? Which Ramsar site is India's largest Ramsar site? The Sundarbans. Shabash. And which Ramsar site is India's smallest Ramsar site? The Renuka Lake in Himachal Pradesh. Very good. Also, which Ramsar site was India's first Ramsar site? It is Chilka Lake. Which country has the maximum area under Ramsar site? Which country has the maximum area under Ramsar site? It is Brazil. Good. Very nice. Chalo, you all know everything about Ramsar. And if you all don't score a 616 in your CLAT exam in the Ramsar question. Okay. The next is Anthropic AI models. Anthropic is a US-based company which apparently makes the world's most powerful AI models. All right. So two of them are there. Fable 5 and Mythos 5. Just keep their names in mind. Mythos was launched this year, and it is apparently one such AI model which can look into loopholes or vulnerabilities into a country's strategic infrastructure. Okay? So this is like a one-liner. Just keep in mind the names and the company. Then Samadhan Didi, again, important as a one-liner. So it is a chat bot. Now the name is Samadhan Didi. So naturally it is to undertake redressal of public grievances. Now the authority which is responsible for redressal of public grievances is the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. Okay, so do keep in mind, and this Samadhan Didi will be available or will be supportive of 22 languages. Okay. Chalo. Then Varya AI model, again launched by India, and this AI model is a distilled video maker. Okay. So again, the name is important, a simple one-liner that you have to keep in mind. Nothing in details of it. All right. Okay. Then Venezuela's earthquake. When we had taken the Grand Slam, I had taken up the earthquake in detail for you all. So what is important for the Venezuelan earthquake as of now is Operation Amistad. All right. So Operation Amistad was launched by India, which is Spanish for friendship. And Operation Amistad was naturally a humanitarian aid mission that we had sent to Venezuela in the wake of the double earthquake that hit Venezuela. Okay? Things pertaining to an earthquake, basics of an earthquake, the point of origin of an earthquake within the surface of the earth is known as hypocenter, or it is known as your seismic focus. Then the point vertically above on the surface of the earth is known as your epicenter. Then these earthquake waves are known as seismic waves. Seismic waves are of two types. One are your body waves and the other are your surface waves. So body waves are all the waves which occur within the surface of the earth. Body waves are of two types. One is your P waves, one is your S waves. P waves are primary waves, S waves are secondary waves. They are known as primary waves because they are the fastest with a speed of 8 to 9 meters per second. S waves are secondary or second to reach the surface of the earth, 3.4 meter per second. S waves are the most destructive waves. Why? Because they move perpendicular to the propagation So most destructive is S waves. Why? Because if the wave is moving, earthquake wave is in this manner, then S waves occur this way. So it basically distorts the entire rock structure. And P waves, if the seismic wave is this way, the P wave will also move this way. It is parallel to the wave of propagation. When they reach the surface of the earth, they are known as surface waves. Two types, Rayleigh and Love waves. Then the instrument that is used to acknowledge the occurrence of an earthquake is known as the instrument used to acknowledge the occurrence of an earthquake is known as a seismograph. Very good. Then we have two scales which are responsible to measure the impacts of an earthquake. One is the Mercalli scale and the other is the Richter scale. What does the Richter scale measure? What does the Richter scale measure? The Richter scale measures the magnitude and the Mercalli scale measures the intensity. Okay? And whenever we actually get the destruction of an earthquake, it is always given in terms of magnitude, because magnitude is inclusive of intensity. Then awards. Earth Prize 2026. This has been given to 3 Indian students, Vivan, Ariana and Avyana Mehta, and they become the global winners for the Earth Prize 2026, making them the first team from India to win this. What did they innovate? They innovated plastic, a biodegradable material prepared from discarded tamarind seed wastes. All right. Okay. And before winning the Earth Prize, they were recognized as the Asia Regional winners as well. The Earth Prize basically gives you is given to people who undertake any such innovation, etc., pertaining to climate change. It was established by the Earth Foundation in 2020 and is open to students between 13 to 19 years of age. Total price is $100,000. Okay. Then Russia Grand Sand Master. So India we have only one such person, which is Sudarshan Patnaik. Sudarshan Patnaik is also the ambassador for the census this year. Okay. So for census also Sudarshan Patnaik is the ambassador, and he has won Russia's Grand Sand Master Cup 2026. Then the Wolf Prize was given to Professor Jainendra K. Jain, and he became the first scientist of Indian origin to win this prize, and the prize is basically awarded in physics. Okay? And his work is in quantum physics. All right? Given by Wolf Foundation of Israel. All right. Then Food Planet Prize. It has been given to Andhra Pradesh Community Managed Natural Farming 2026, and it was given in Sweden. So just keep the name in mind and which award has been this organization been given. All right. Then sports. FIFA begun. Now FIFA in more detail we've already done once, and in more detail we'll do it in July when the FIFA winner is announced. But basics, it was the 23rd edition, which was co-hosted for the first time by 3 nations, that is the entire North American continent, United States, Canada, and Mexico. Out of these 3, it was Canada's first, I think. It was Canada's first World Cup. Canada made its debut to host the FIFA World Cup. Last World Cup was held in Qatar 2022. Mexico has become the first country to host or co-host a World Cup 3 times, 1970, 86, and now 2026. The official song was Die Die, sung by Shakira. Shakira also now has a record of singing 4 FIFA songs. So do remember. Then my mascots, Maple the Moose for Canada, Zayu the Jaguar for Mexico, Clutch the Bald Eagle for US. All right. 4 countries were making their debut this year: Cape Verde, Curacao, Jordan, and Uzbekistan. All right. Then Adidas made the ball. The ball's name was Trionda. Official songs we've done, mascots we've done. Okay, then FIFA was established in 1904 in Paris, but it is headquartered in Zurich. The present president is Gianni Infantino. And the first World Cup was held in Uruguay. And I think Uruguay was the first winner of the first World Cup also. Okay. Then maximum titles have been won by Brazil, 5. Germany and Italy, 4 titles each. Argentina, 3 titles. Uruguay was the first country to win the World Cup in 1930. India has qualified only once. This was also not as a qualifying, but some country I think had withdrawn or were removed, and then India was brought in to replace it. Okay. All right. Then World Yogasan Championship. Now, this was the first one that has been held this year. And naturally, it was the inaugural, which India only held it. And India had hosted it in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. All right. So, in this, a total of 114 medals were won by India. 102 gold, 9 silver, and 3 bronze. Okay. And India naturally won the championship, followed by Japan with 11 medals, and Argentina with only 5 medals, or India ke 114 medals. Okay. All right. So this was held in 2026 in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, in the Narendra Modi Stadium. All right. And this was the first one. All right. Mascot, Veer the Lion. Also International Day of Yoga, 21st of June. उससे relate करके याद रखना. Then R. Pragnanda has become the first Indian to win the Norway chess title. Again, only a one-liner that you have to keep in mind. All right? Chalo. Then French Open, German tennis player Alexander Zverev won the 2026 French Open, and this was his maiden Grand Slam title, and he defeated Italy's Flavio Goboli. Now, please remember, always remember the person who has won it and the person whom such a person has defeated. Okay, last year in the exam, they did ask you that who was defeated by somebody else. All right, so do keep that in mind. All right, and in women, Russia's Mira Andreeva became the youngest champion in French Open, beating Maja Cholinska. All right. Okay, then this is the basic full list that who has won what and who has defeated whom. Okay. Chalo. Founded in 1891 in the clay court it is played. The court is also popularly known as the stadium is popularly known as Roland Garros Stadium, and it gained Grand Slam status in 1925. The 4 others are Australian, French, Wimbledon, and US. And this is the same order in which they are held. I mean, you can remember it, east to west, that Australia, then France, then French Open, then Wimbledon Open, and then US Open. Okay. So Australian Open has happened, French Open has also finished, and Wimbledon has also finished maybe 2-3 days back, and now US Open is scheduled to take place. Want to pitch in? Wimbledon, tennis, and French Open, and Yogasan, and
yeah, I think you covered. So just
extra thing that I don't know.
okay, just if you look at the sports news for the last month, I think one of the most significant thing is that India has won the Norway Chess Open for the first time, R. Pragnanda, right? That's one. Second is now we have the 97 Grandmaster, Harshvardhan. Third thing is the static related to it is FIDE is the International Chess Federation, which is based at Lausanne, which is in Switzerland. The president of FIDE is Arkady Djokovic. The vice president is Viswanathan Anand, right? And you should also know this, that the only 2 Indians who have crossed the 2800 EU points, that's Arjun Agassi, the last one, the 16th one out of, I mean, he's the 16th one. There are only 16 people who have crossed 2800 EU points, and the first one being Viswanathan Anand. The highest EU points till date is of Magnus Carlsen, which is 282, right? Pragnanda's sister, R. Vishali, she won the Candidates Open. That was last month or last to last month. And now she's going to play for the World Championship, right? So that was the second part. The third thing is, if you're looking at the yoga event that happened, the Yogasana Championship. Just connect this with the 21st of June Yoga Day. And question that could be asked is, what is yoga? So yoga means to join, and we proposed this in 2014, and thereafter the Yoga Day is being celebrated. Okay, and this comes under the Ministry of Ayush. Yoga ministries that yoga comes under the Ministry of Ayush, and you should know what is the full form of Ayush, right? A stands for Ayurveda, U stands for Unani, Y stands for Yoga, U stands for Nani, S stands for Siddha, which is South Indian traditional medicinal practice, and H stands for homeopathy. Remember, 10th of April is the World Homeopathy Day, and yeah, so you can just connect these things there. So the French Open was last month, and what we just need to know, the the runners-up of Wimbledon is the winner of the French Open. French Open is played on the clay court, and Alexander Zverev is the winner of the French Open. Right? French Open started in the year 1891. It is a third Grand Slam. The first one being Wimbledon. It started in the year 1877, followed by the U.S. Open, which is played at the Flushing Meadows in New York in the year 1881, and then it was the French Open in the year 1890, and then the Australian Open in the year 1906. Rafael Nadal has won the maximum number of French Open, and amongst the women, it is Chris Evert, right? So these are few static points that you should know about the French Open. And now the month of July, day before yesterday, was Sunday. I think, men's. We have the winners of the Wimbledon also. We have Jannik Sinner winning the uh, uh, winning the men's. Winning in the men's, and in women we have a Czech player, right? Navkova, who has won the first time she's won. In fact, Alexander Zverev also, it was his first Grand Slam, right? And Navkova also from Czech. It was all Czech finals at the Wimbledon, which is played in the glass court. So that's So it's the first time that she has won, right? So we don't need to know about the doubles and mixed doubles and all, but you should know about men's and women. So this is Mira Andreeva. She's from Russia, who has won it. You see a lot of these Russians and the Eastern Europe players doing so well. You have the world number one, Aryna Sabalenka. Then, she won, I think, 2 Grand Slams last year. Then we had Rabaenka from Kazakhstan. She won the Australian Open this year. And now we also have a Czech player who has won this, Mira Andreeva. So you see a lot of these Eastern European countries and Russia, Kazakhstan and all, they're doing so well. Iga Swiatek, right? She has won French Open many a times, and even Wimbledon. She's from Poland. So of late, we have a lot of Eastern European nations doing well, right? So 1891. Yeah. Now let's look at a couple of reports this time. We have the UN SDG index, right? So this is the Sustainable Development Goals. You should know all the 17 SDGs by heart. Like for instance, SDG number 1 is no poverty, no hunger. SDG number 2, number 3 is health, better health. Number 4 is education, then gender equality, then clean water sanitation, and so on and so forth, right? So you should know about it. And India has improved with respect to the SDG ranking. And this is by the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And this year, this time we have the score. So India is still behind a lot of our neighbors. Like we are behind Bhutan, we are behind Nepal, behind Sri Lanka, and our rank is 94th, right? Our rank is 94th at the SDG index. And yeah, so we are 94. Last time it was 99. So we have moved up 5 places. So the country that's got rank number 1 is Finland in this, right? The country which has got rank 1 is Finland, and this is followed by Sweden and Denmark. So SDG index rank 1 Finland. Okay, India's rank is 94, and this is out of how many countries? Just let me just put that data. How many countries? So I think they're right. Yeah, okay, they're in.
169 countries.
So this is out of 169 countries, right? And the country which is
The last is Chad.
Chad is last.
And
So remember, so remember Finland rank 1, 94th rank is India, and we have moved 5 places from the last year's ranking. And the country which has got the last rank 169 is Chad, which is an African country. And we have 2 new entrants in this, Eritrea and Timor-Leste, right? Timor-Leste, if you remember, it's also joined the ASEAN, right, and the World Trade Organization. Okay, so do you want to explain this a bit? Which is? Oh God! So you want to repeat this? Okay.
Okay, so mostly what you have to keep in mind is that Chad was the last country, followed by Central Africa, South Sudan, mostly because of their conflicts and political instabilities. Finland, Sweden, and Denmark topped the 1, 2, 3. India is 94th. Other than that, why is this rank particularly, or why is this ranking, why are these rankings particularly given? Is only because these rankings are to rank a country's progress with respect to the Sustainable Development Goals. These SDGs were outlined for the first time in 2015, and they are till 2030. They replaced the previous Millennium Development Goals, which were outlined in 2000 till 2015. They were also not achieved. And again, the report also highlights that even here also, they are not on track. None of the countries are on track on achieving the goals for the effectively by 2030. Other than that, one more thing that you have to keep in mind, that Eritrea and Timor-Leste, they have been included for the first time. Okay. Chalo. Then observances in the sense that important days. World Environment Day every year, 5th of June. It has been naturally undertaken by the United Nations Environment Program. This year, the theme was Only One Earth. All right. Host country for the celebrations of World Environment Day was Azerbaijan in Baku. And the theme here for the celebration of the day was inspired by Nature for Climate for Our Future. The World Environment Day was established for the first time in 1972 following the conference of United Nations Conference on Human Environment, Stockholm, Sweden. First, it has been celebrated since 1973. Then 8th of June, do keep in mind World Oceans Day. World Oceans Day annually to raise global awareness from the benefits that humankind basically draw from oceans. All right. Then again, established or celebrated since 2008. Then World Day Against Child Labor. Why did I pick this up? Only to put forth that India, we have Article 24 that talks about prevention of child labor. Okay? So उसी से इसको याद रखना. Then naturally this day has been observed as an anti-child labor day, and this is undertaken by the International Labour Organization since 2002. The basics of International Labour Organization is that it was established in 1919 by the Treaty of Versailles, and it became the first affiliated specialized agency of United Nations in 1986, headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1969. Also, it aligns, that is, anti-child labor day aligns with SDG target 8.7. Okay, now basically SDG target 8 is what you have to keep in mind. Then World Day to combat desertification and drought every year on 17th June. 17th June is also National Day of Crocodiles. Okay? Or 17th June is International Day to combat desertification and drought. Theme, rangelands, recognize, respect, restore. Rangeland से क्या याद रखोगे? UN International Year for 2026. That is UN International Year for Rangeland and Pastoralists. All right. So you will remember it this way. All right. So in 1994, the United Nations General Assembly officially declared 17 June as the World Day to combat desertification and drought. This also has a convention on it. That is the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. So UNCCD, one of the 3 sister organizations that were established under or as part of the Rio Summit, Earth Summit of 1992. Okay. All right. Then its headquarters or secretariat is located in Bonn, Germany. Then 21st of June every year is celebrated as International Yoga Day. And this was one thing that has been put forth by India. Also, yoga from India is an intangible cultural heritage under UNESCO's program, which is, I think, included in 2016. Okay. So it has been since 2014 that International Day of Yoga is being celebrated. Why this particular day was taken? Because on 21st of June, it coincides with summer solstice, and it basically coincides with Indian tradition as the day when Adiyogi is believed to have initiated the transmission of yogic knowledge, marking origin of yogic science. All right, then yoga also is under Ministry of Ayush. Ayush is India's traditional medicine system, where Y stands for yoga. Okay, and it has been included since 2016. Then National Statistics Day, 29th of June, to commemorate the birth anniversary of P.C. Mahalanobis. P.C. Mahalanobis is considered as the father of statistics in India, observed since 2004. What is he responsible for? He founded the International Statistical Institute in 1931 and headed NSSO and CSO. Also founded the Sankhya Journal. All right. Also, it was under him that the second 5-year plan was ideated. Okay. So the second 5-year plan was based on the Mahalanobis model, where they focused more on industrialization. Okay. Chalo. Now coming to the last bit of the session, that is certain one-liners that you have to keep in mind. Now, 21st of June, because it was taken up, hence the meaning for solstices and equinoxes. So solstice is a Latin word that means towards sun, and it is basically the day when the sun is vertically overhead, either on the Tropic of Cancer or on the Tropic of Capricorn. So when it is vertically overhead on the Tropic of Cancer, it is the longest day in the northern hemisphere and the shortest day in the southern hemisphere. This day is roughly 21st of June. Okay, falls between 20th and 22nd June, meaning that it is 21st of June. So 21st of June is summer solstice in northern hemisphere and winter solstice in southern hemisphere. All right. As against this, 22nd of December is winter solstice in northern hemisphere because the sun is vertically overhead on the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. So it is summer solstice in southern hemisphere and winter solstice in northern hemisphere. We have the shortest day in the northern hemisphere and the longest night in the northern hemisphere on winter solstice. All right. Then we have equinoxes. So equinox is basically equal day and night, meaning that the sun is vertically overhead on the equator, due to which there is equal distribution of sunlight throughout the Earth's hemisphere. So 22nd March is spring equinox, and 23rd of September is autumn equinox. All right. So roughly it aligns with the English seasons. We don't have spring, autumn, like very concerted seasons in India. But spring equinox, 21st of March, and autumn equinox, 22nd, 23rd of September, where the sun is vertically overhead on the equator. Okay. All right. Then World Heritage Sites from, that is UNESCO, basically made an announcement stating that Italy has emerged as UNESCO's has emerged as the country with the highest number of World Heritage sites. So Italy has a total of 61 World Heritage sites, which is the highest number. There are 55 cultural World Heritage sites, 6 natural heritage sites. Latest heritage sites from Italy is funerary tradition in the prehistory of Sardinia. Okay. Italy has 61. Second highest is China with 60. Germany is 55. France 54. Spain 50. And India is 44. Okay. All right. About this program. So, this program is effectively known as Convention Concerning the Protection of World Cultural and Natural Heritage, which was established in the year 1972. The first World Heritage List was announced in 1978, headquarters in Paris, France. It basically outlines 3 types of sites: cultural, natural, and mixed. The Director General of UNESCO presently is Khalid Al-Enani. Significance is that he is the first Arab person to hold this position. He has succeeded whom? He has succeeded Audrey Azoulay. So do keep in mind, she was the Director General till last year. Now it is Khalid Al-Enani. All right. It is basically a 4-year term and which can be renewed effectively. All right. Last year we had the 44th World Heritage Site from India, which was the Maratha military landscapes. There are a series of 12 forts. 11 are in Maharashtra. One is in Tamil Nadu, which is the Jinji Fort. Okay. And this year we may get again. Mostly they do announce their sites in the month of August. So we may have another one. 44 are designated sites, out of which one is mixed, which is the Kanchenjunga in Sikkim. Other than that, they also have a tentative list, which also got new inclusions from India last year. So 7 new sites were added last year, which added up the total entries from India into the tentative list to 69. Okay. All right. Achha, this slide got misplaced. It was supposed to be just before it, but I roughly told you all that Mahalanobis 29th of June, where his second 5-year plan is based on the Mahalanobis model. Okay. And then he's also one of the members of the Planning Commission, also because he is the inceptor of statistics. He led the establishment of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, his ideations, which was formed in 1999. Okay. All right. Then another one-liner only, basics that you have to keep in mind, that this year it is 35 years of the new economic policy. New economic policy meaning that since 1991, we've not had any economic policy. So the 1991 policy is known as the new economic policy. All right. The basic thing that you have to keep in mind that it is also known as the LPG policy, which is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Okay. So the LPG policy was launched in 1991, and it was through this policy that India wanted to now effectively transition from a closed economy to a mixed and then to a nice, good, open economy. All right. Also, it did bring about certain changes in the country, like it gave basic autonomy to banks to set their interest rates. It also reduced government intervention. It brought in de-licensing, in the sense that setting up of industries, which was basically privatization. So privatization was not permitted in the country. Everything was supposed to be government owned. So everything, because it was government owned, naturally development stagnated. So the government in 1991 or from 1991 started inviting private sectors into the employment sector. All right. So privatization, in the sense that private companies were allowed to set up industries, offices, etc. And licensing policy was made lax, in the sense that it was given to other sections of the country to set up industries, and not everything was government owned anymore in the country. All right. Then also devaluation of the Indian rupee took place during this. Other than that, FDI was increased in the country up to 51% equity in 34 sectors. Other than that, new private sector banks were also brought in, and disinvestment by government was undertaken, in the sense that the government started selling off shares in public sector undertakings to the other members of the country. It could be private members, also could be individuals, just to bring about better flow of money. Okay, then it eventually led to economic development and increasing employment and income opportunities in the country. The next is that Sushrut statue has been unveiled in Edinburgh in Scotland, all right, in the Royal College of Surgeons. Why is it important? Is because he's actually considered as the pioneer of surgery, at least in India. Now they're also giving him recognition globally also. And he has this one book that he's written, which is known as the Sushrut Samhita, which is a very holistic and inclusive text of things like nose reconstruction, known as rhinoplasty, cataract surgery, and symmetrical surgical training in ancient India. Therefore, he is known as father of surgery and father of plastic surgery.
And what
Okay.
was the name of the college again?
My God. Royal College of Surgeons. Okay, then India's first offshore airport, बस इतना याद रखना है that it is now being built in Bombay, and Vadhavan Port project. It has been inclusive of Vadhavan Port project now. Vadhavan is roughly the next major port that the government of India is building. All right, and the speciality of this is going to be that this offshore port is going to be constructed on reclaimed land or artificial islands in the seas. The model has been successfully adopted by countries such as Japan, Hong Kong, etc. near Kore Beach. All right, so that is it for your June current affairs. And these are the most important ones that you have to basically keep in mind. Obviously, a more concerted list will be given to you all in the magazine. So I'll see you all soon with the next month's session. Until then, keep on preparing, keep on learning, and it was wonderful teaching you all today. Thank you, children. Do you all have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, children.
Ma'am, could you open the Vadhavan port Wali slide once? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day.